Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. It's great to see some names that I've recognised from the previous two Power Platform webinars, which means hopefully that you'll find them very useful. Today we're going to be talking about Power Apps in a little bit more detail with Lewis. Any questions, of course, please put them in the chat. We'll address them either as we go along or at the end. As you can see, the session is being recorded, so we'll send you a copy of the recording afterwards. And I'm going to pass over to Lewis now, who will crack on with the webinar.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot, Richard. So hi, everybody. As Richard's introduced, so we're going to be looking into Power Apps today. So we're doing a little bit of a deeper dive into Power Apps and what was originally covered in the first session. So Power Apps is generally your app development platform. So as opposed to sort of Power BI, which is your data analysis, Power Automate, which is your automation flow creation. Power Apps is sort of the core aspect where you would build an app to give some form of platform for an engineer or an employee to be able to amend their workflow or potentially see the data from the database. So what we'll do is today we'll start off with an overview of Power Apps. So Power Apps in its simplest form is a suite of applications, services, connectors, as well as being a data platform that allows rapid development of custom apps for your business needs. Using Power Apps allows for a swift development of custom business applications directly connected to your data. Power Apps supports data located in the Dataverse, as well as various online and on-premise data sources. With over 200 connectors available, ingesting third-party stored data can be developed natively. Apps built using Power Apps provide many areas where logic and workflow capabilities can be used to transform your manual business operations into digital automated processes. With this app built using Power Apps, have a responsive designs and can be run seamlessly in browsers and on mobile devices. Power Apps also provides an extensive platform that lets pro developers programmatically interact with data and metadata, allowing for business logic, custom connectors, and external data to be developed on further. There are two main sort of key areas of Power Apps, one being model-driven, another being canvas-driven. So what we'll do now is I'll just drill down into a high-level overview of these two, and then we will go into it in more detail in the next slide. So starting out with model-driven applications. These are simple to configure in an out-of-the-box style. You can select model-driven applications from various pre-built solutions within the Power Apps canvas to suit the requirements of the app development. Model-driven applications are a great way to build a sample app to display required data to employees. So if all you need to do is display a list of the assigned jobs to the employees, model-driven will chances are be the best, swiftest, and most suitable for your requirements. Canvas applications is the custom option within Power Apps, allowing you to configure and build custom-made apps as you see from the screenshot. This is a custom application showing a holiday property by location. So Canvas apps are a great way to develop a web application for users, allowing full customization of most components within the Power Apps. So Canvas apps will be the ones that you would develop if you want to edit it and you want to build something bespoke, whereas model-driven will be when you've got a simple need in mind and you just need that development to be completed swiftly. App development can often be confusing and a concerning prospect, especially if you have no previous development experience. So this is where Power Apps can assist your organization. Previously, app development would require a developer or a team of dedicated developers to work on the application, usually over a course of weeks, if not months, until the delivery was achieved. Power Apps empowers citizen developers using model-driven applications. No longer developers are required to develop these apps. Citizen developers will be able to fulfill the requirements simply and easily in a matter of days by utilizing model-driven application. This does require training, but this eliminates the requirement for expensive and time-consuming development cycles. So with Power Apps, what you can do is that you can go on an app in a day course, spend a single day learning Power Apps, and then that will empower your citizen developers to be able to complete these applications to fulfill your business requirements. So now we'll take a deeper dive into the Canvas and the model-driven applications so that we can potentially see what areas would best suit your guys' businesses and your organizations. So as mentioned in the previous slide, there's two key ways of developing or your organization can start developing Power Apps, sorry. So starting with model-driven, when developing a model-driven app, Power Apps starts your data model building up from the shape of your core business data and processes, primarily in the Dataverse solution to model forms, views, and other useful components. Model-driven apps, bear with me a second, sorry. Model-driven apps automatically generate a user interface that is responsive across most devices, meaning that most of your applications that when developed in a model-driven application will be able to natively move over to mobile or tablet view. When creating model-driven apps, Dataverse can be utilized to rapidly configure forms, business rules, and process flows directly from the maker's portal of the Power App. From the user's perspective, all model-driven applications offer a similar experience following Microsoft's accessibility guidelines as standard. So you will all see them similar to how Partner Center is, similar to how the 365 Admin Center is. It will follow that style. So as you can see from the right-hand screenshot on the slide, that shows a model-driven app. The example app consists of multiple different areas, one being a dashboard, three being tables. So the challenges, ideas, and team projects being the tables that can be viewed by the end users, as well as the dashboard giving multiple charts and views, again, to be used by the end users so that they have an overview of the data without having to drill into the data and completing their own data analysis. So using the pane on the left-hand side, users can navigate between these tables and dashboards with a single click. So by simply clicking where it says challenges, users will be navigated into the challenges table so that they can view the data. So what are some of the benefits of model-driven apps? So once the data model and relationships have been created, the build process is relatively rapid due to the rich components focused in the no-code designers, meaning that most of the components that what you will require to be put into your model-driven application will already be configured, meaning that you don't have to go through the time-costly changing boxes, editing boxes, moving design slightly to make it look how you need it to. It's already pre-built. Apps have a similar user interface across various devices from desktop to mobile, meaning that if you develop a model-driven app in a year's time, it will follow the same style as your previous model-driven applications, as well as being able to be used on a mobile and tablet and desktop. Apps are accessible and responsive automatically. So as opposed to Canvas-driven, where you have to develop and you have to design all of your uses and all of your resources and services within your app, model-driven, that is done natively and immediately, meaning that you will never have a button that doesn't have a function within a model-driven. The user experience is consistent across all model-driven applications. Once a user is confident with one model-driven app, later apps are easy to adopt within the organization. Again, referring back to it being of the same style and of similar actions, they're all the same. So meaning that once end user learns one model-driven application, they should learn them all. Migrating apps between development, test, and production environments is relatively straightforward by using solutions. So model-driven applications are designed in a solution view, meaning that they can be packaged up, exported out, or imported into other environments, as well as migrated between the environments of Power Apps. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some Canvas-driven applications. So Canvas is on the left-hand side of the screen. So you can see that screenshot there. Canvas apps start with the user experience, allowing you to create a highly tailored interface, starting with a blank canvas. You can connect to your choice of more than 200 data sources. Canvas apps support web, mobile, and tablet view, allowing for a full range of devices to be used to interact with your new app. Canvas Apps gives you the flexibility to design the user experience and interface the way that you want it to be designed, not the way that Microsoft or whoever has developed the model-driven application requires. This allows for creativity and business sense to guide how you want your apps to look and feel. Microsoft also offers many demo Canvas apps for you to test and learn with before you start designing your own app. So as you can see from the screenshot, this application is significantly different from the app offered by the model-driven application, with a completely custom layout for buttons, imagery, coloring, as well as location of the data. So this app was designed to be an industrial vehicle inspection checklist, so users can search for the vehicle, select the desired vehicle, navigating to a second page where they can complete inspection data entry. And some of the benefits of the model-driven applications are complete freedom to develop an application to your own design. Many aspects of the application can be customized, meaning that you can design an app to suit and tailor that app to suit your organization's requirements. There's also many data sources available, so you have much of a wider variety of data sources available as opposed to just the model-driven applications, which are fairly limited. So those are the two main differences from the apps that you can develop within Power Apps. So we've got Canvas-driven apps on the left-hand side and then model-driven apps on the right-hand side. So now that we've actually explained sort of what Power Apps is and what you can do with Power Apps, we're now going to go into some of the licensing. Okay, so the simplest starting point, if you're an end user of Power Apps, is to purchase the Power Apps per app license for £3.80 per app per calendar month. This license gives you access to a single application which has been published on your tenant. Although we recommend this license for end users, this also gives you access to develop the Power App fully. So these licenses are assigned to the environment that the Power App is held within and not assigned directly to the user. Because it's a Power App subscription, it's linked to the application subscription, not the end users. These licenses are a fantastic bulk purchase, a fantastic method for you to purchase a bulk of the licenses to act as a pool of licenses, meaning that you need the exact license management, or that you can complete exact license management, as well as you not needing to license your users independently. So say, for example, you publish a application, you want to license them via the £3.80 per user license. So what you would do is that if you have 1,000 users in your end base, or your end goal is 1,000 users, you would then purchase 1,000 of the Power App plan, and then you would then assign those apps or those licenses to that application's environment, and then that application can be, or the license will be used from that application as and when that user requires it. Meaning that you can have some licenses left over, but we would we'd always much rather recommending you to have more licenses left over than not have enough, so that your end users can actually access and activate and you actively use that application. So should you require access to more than one application though, there is also a per user plan available. Retailing currently at £15.10. This again gives you full access to the entire Power App suite without the restriction of only being able to develop a single application. Unlike the Power App license, per user is assigned to the end users in the same method as an Office 365 license. So that's the alternative. What we do recommend to most end users is that if they are an existing developer of Power Apps, and that will be their rule, so they will be developing many Power Apps, we would always recommend the per user plan. If you're expecting to just be an end user though, we would recommend the per app plan until I believe it's 5 or 6 applications would be the limit, and then we would recommend the per user plan. So it'd be a case of you utilize the Power App plan until you breach that £15.10 limit, and then go over to a per user plan. Alternatively, Microsoft have recently also added a feature of pay and go licensing. So this pay and go licensing, it does require an active Azure subscription to be on your tenant, but it operates in the same methodology as the Power App plan, but in a pay and go method. So rather than you incurring those charges every single month, you incur those charges for only users that have accessed the app in that calendar period. So if no one in a month accesses the app, then no payment is made. So this is great for either early adoption or if you have an app which is only used occasionally. So for example, if your organization still isn't sure whether Power Apps is quite right for yourself, we would recommend you originally starting on the pay and go plan so that you can gather your requirements, you can get a little bit of experience under your belt with Power Apps prior to then you signing up for a year and then being stuck for a year. Alternatively, Cobweb does actually have a use for the pay and go plan in the sense of there's a domain transfer tool that we use that we've developed through Power App. And what we have developed with the pay and go license is whenever an end user uses it, then the pay and go license will be charged. But if no user uses it, then we don't get charged. This also doesn't charge for the entire tenant, so it doesn't charge for the entire user base. It's only if the specific user uses it. So should for example, say you've got this app on a pay and go licensing scheme, it's shared with 5 end users and only 3 of those end users in the calendar period uses it, then you would only incur 3 of those expenses, not 5. So that's a great method if you are unsure or you do have something that's occasionally used. Some of you may already have Power Apps licensing though through a seeded license. So these often come with a larger business 365 licensing, for example, E3 and E5, as well as business premium, all comes with Power Apps non-premium access built in. Although these features can assist based off a data storage location, as Dataverse, for example, is a premium data connector, meaning that a seeded license will not support these features without additional licensing. So some of you will have Power Apps access enabled, so that you can access the Power Apps features, but you will be limited to all the non-premium features. In that case, we would recommend you moving up to a per user plan or onto a Power App plan if it is only the single app that you are developing. So now that we've covered off the licensing and the Power Apps overview, we'll now move on to a case study. So for today's case study, I wanted to dive into a company that most of us should have heard of, Virgin Atlantic. So Virgin's plane and transport company. So in 2017, Virgin Atlantic made the business decision to start a connected engineer project. The key aim of this was to equip aircraft engineers with iPads, ensuring the engineers are able to access the systems and the tools that they require to complete their daily tasks. Following this decision, the IT department began to analyze many of the legacy paper-based processes with the aim to create a mobile-friendly solution. This would in turn make the engineers more productive and more efficient. The project goal being to help the engineers spend their time and energy focusing on the tasks that they are carrying out rather than focusing on the paperwork that they are looking at. One of the key paper-based processes was a safety and compliance audit. This audit is crucial to ongoing operations of Virgin Atlantic, so that the development team needed a way to review audit findings and take action immediately, as well as view trends and identify improvements based on their findings. The engineers could then utilize their new iPads to assist them in completing this in their working environments, meaning that the end users or the head office would be able to get their data and that information immediately, as opposed to waiting for the engineer to return and for that paper-based process to be completed. So the previous process was that engineers used to complete these audits in a very manual process. Part of the audits were completed on paper and part in a legacy SharePoint 2007 list environment. An example of their paper form can be found on the slide. So what you see in the center of the slide is what they would be completing in their paper form. As you can see, this is a very manual process and a basic process as well, which when completed on paper allows for very little data analysis, as well as needing to be uploaded to a database for a long-term storage. Virgin Atlantic required this process to be as simple and expedited as possible. In order to fulfill this requirement, the department looked at purchasing licenses for an audit tool, some of which cost up to £25,000 per year. So as you can tell, ideally, it's not a feasible business decision, costing the business quarter of £100,000 a year. However, following further analysis of these tools, the department discovered that the expensive solution couldn't actually cover each and every requirement of the project. So in this, we seem to have this happen quite a lot in big end users and big companies projects. They'll find an on-the-shelf solution. It will be great. It will work for what they want, but it won't cover and it won't tick each and every box. So this is where Power Apps comes into it. So using blogs and Microsoft documentations, a staff member, Barry Young, discovered that the Microsoft Power Platform could be used and raised it to the development team, who found that they felt that they could create a solution in a short amount of time that was completely custom to the requirements. Internally, Virgin then organised a hackathon event, which would allow citizen developers to suggest ideas and partake in an event focused on app development. In August of 2018, Virgin hosted this event, resulting in an application being developed alongside some Power BI reporting capabilities. In September of 2018, following the success of the hackathon, the findings were presented to the monthly Engineering and Safety Security Board, who were impressed with the solution, especially the Power BI reporting aspect. In October of 2018, the solution was then deployed in production for further departments and stations to analyze it and give their feedback. So as you can see, Virgin picked up this project, started development, and after just 2 months had a live and working solution deployed to their departments. So this is much, much faster than expected development cycles on web developments, as well as covering a fraction of the cost, having only needed to cover the employee's expense for developing that application, as well as the licensing expenses, as opposed to spending thousands upon thousands on a custom web app developer, or if not, thousands on an external supplier to develop that application. The solution created managed to solve the requirements for Virgin using many areas of the Power platforms, as well as Office 365, to deliver the result as desired. These areas we will dive into now, being Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and SharePoint. So in Power Apps, starting with the Power Apps, engineer used Power Apps on their corporate iPad to perform an ad hoc and scheduled audits. They can view the audit schedule as well as view the audit questions. Upon completing the audit, positive expected answers are highlighted in green to provide a visual aid. Negative answers are highlighted in red, followed by a pop-up to allow engineers to record their findings and assign a follow-up task to their managers. Management uses this Power App integrated within a SharePoint list to review the completed audits and their results. They then also generate HTML and PDF audit summaries from the app, so that if an auditor does or an executive requires further information, they could natively, at a single click of the button, pull that information out. Power Automate is then used to trigger flows on a reoccurring schedule to email daily findings and actions to the managers, as well as email engineers at the beginning of the day if they have an audit assigned to them. Flows are also triggered from the SharePoint list and directly from the Power App to generate an audit summary email, as well as the HTML and PDF features mentioned previously. Power BI is then also used, as in Power BI dashboards are connected to the SharePoint online list to provide statistics on the number of completed and scheduled audits. They're used to visualize audit findings for monthly meetings and briefings, as well as to highlight areas of improvements. All data is then stored in a SharePoint online list. Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI connect directly into the SharePoint list in order to access the data to complete their resources. So in summary, the application uses SharePoint online lists to store the information about the audits, a SharePoint site for the admins to manage the audit schedule and findings, Power Automate to send out notifications, and Power BI to visualize the audit findings for the management level. So as seen in the image on the slide, this is the full architecture of Virgin Atlantic solution. So you can see that the safety and compliance apps over on the left-hand side, it then goes through flows, Power BI reporting, as well as a custom SharePoint application, all held on the SharePoint Online solution. So you can really see the full breadth of this project of what Virgin Atlantic have been able to really leverage in key aspects of Power Platforms, as well as Office 365, to be able to fulfill and complete the solution exactly how they require that solution to be fulfilled. Okay, so as the number of apps being developed at Virgin Atlantic grew, the development department needed a solution to govern and manage these solutions. Moreover, the team wanted to know who were the engineers that were developing Power Apps across the company. The team wished to partner with them, support them, as well as starting to build a community enabled to offer support fully across the company. Using the Power Apps blog, which described how you can use Power Apps to manage other Power Apps, they started by downloading the sample app included in the blog post for the Center of Excellence kit. So what this Center of Excellence kit allowed it to do is create an application within 30 minutes that had a customized admin platform, giving the team full viewership of app owners, usage counts, the number of apps that have been developed, as well as app details and which connectors the apps are using. So Virgin have baked in governance into their solution, being the standard way of working. So if you have many Power Apps or have opened many Power Apps within your organizations, then this is recommended that you do complete the Center for Excellence kit to gain full viewership so that you don't lose control of your resource and of your service. Because sometimes, especially with citizen development, when you allow everybody to sort of go off and do their own development, sometimes you can lose the requirements of the Power Apps. Okay, so now we will break down some of the example apps that they have developed, as you can see in the screenshot and the screenshots on the slide. So we previously mentioned the safety and compliance audit app, but as you can see from the image on the right-hand side, the app has been developed in a very simple to understand portal. So it starts off in the page in the center. You've got multiple buttons to be able to navigate to the required page. You've then got a way that you can view the answers as well as fulfill the answers. Another application that was developed was the fuel decision log. So fuel is Virgin Atlantic's most expensive resource. Any ad hoc or long-term decisions affecting fuel usage that differs from standard policy have to be logged. For example, the centralized operations team might choose to add additional holding fuel to account for air traffic control delays at the destination airfield. So this always has to be tracked so that the Virgin Atlantic can keep accurate tracking of their fuel levels. So currently, these decisions are recorded in meeting notes, handover documents, spreadsheets, and emails. A citizens developer from the fuel efficiency team has started to develop a simple Power App to log these decisions and reasons, moving away from localized information and moving into a easier to access and centralized solution. There was also a credit card application portal. So a desktop app was developed for employees to request a corporate credit card. Once this request has been submitted by the employee, it goes to the relevant manager to approve this process. So this was actually previously being managed by paper forms, which were printed out, handed to the procurement team, meaning that the process was very slow. So this developing of this application allows the staff to eliminate the requirements for printed forms, meaning everything can be managed digitally regardless of the physical resources or location of the employee. So as you can see, by utilizing Power Apps, Virgin Atlantic have been able to completely redesign their internal processes as well as how the company works, eliminating waste resources or wasted time. So you can really see the power of Power Apps here in this solution or in these three solutions. just simply something that would be time consuming in the past or would require paper format is now completely digital and can now be done in a matter of minutes as opposed to days of processing or waiting on somebody's desk. Okay, so now we're going to go to cover off how Cobweb uses Power Apps and how we gain value from Power Apps. So Cobweb also utilizes Power Apps to assist with many areas of our business. By utilizing Power Apps to deliver applications to areas of our business, we are able to gather important data to analyze, as well as managers being able to have full viewership of what they require, with all of this being in a completely custom form. So Cobweb currently has many uses for Power Apps. Primarily, we use a Power App model-driven system as a backbone for our own CRM system. Utilizing Dynamics and the model-driven systems, we can track orders, raise tasks, and communicate directly with our customers through our CRM system. So this is just a simple model-driven system that is the customer service system inside of the Dynamics 365 licensing. This also eliminates the need for Cobweb to pay thousands upon thousands of pounds for a CRM system, which doesn't really fulfill our need, as well as thousands of pounds in licensing. This also allows us to keep full access and ownership of our data. So unlike many other CRM systems that are available, our Power App solution is also scalable, meaning that if we need, we can add additional tables and we can add additional applications built into the model-driven solution. So we have ownership and we have control of our own CRM system, as opposed to going to an external company or an external supplier requesting access and requesting changes. We also have a time recording application, which you can see displayed in the screen. So this professional services time recording application is an incredibly useful tool used for the senior leaders within Cobweb. This tool allows engineers to log their working hours during the day, listing which tasks were completed and how long we were working on those tasks for. As you can see in the screenshot, this gives a full view of the week, as well as how much utilization has been completed during this week, as well as total hours. So as you can see in the screenshot listed, there's been no data logged for Monday, but there was data logged for Tuesday and Wednesday. So this was my last week of my time recording as I was completing it. So we had Monday off, so there's nothing logged, and I've been logging 7.5 hours per day of my utilization. This quite crucially allows the head of professional services to know exactly what his staff is doing and when they have done it, allowing for him to pull data out of the database and deliver it to the senior leaderships or the senior leaders within Cobweb as and when he requires it. So it eliminates the need of a conversation with an employee, because if an employee has put that they have logged 7 hours previously of time recording the previous day of something, our manager now knows when that has been completed, as well as having an idea of how we are utilizing our time. Cobweb, so alongside this useful feature, Cobweb is also able to do powerful data analysis to work out margins, effectiveness, and resource level within the department at a click of the fingers. So this also allows our manager to identify issues before it becomes a problem. So he can see it as it's a little niggly thing, as opposed to it being a big time-consuming time sink. We have also developed the time recording app further, as it now holds a dashboard giving users access and to accurate, up-to-date information on every workload. Order management windows, allowing the engineers to adjust their jobs from the app as opposed to navigating into the CRM system. It also has a project and request section, which means that the engineers are now able to raise a project request to get a project authorized, again, without leaving the application. So that's all baked into one application. So what started as a time recording application is now a full business solution built to assist the professional services team, which is fantastic inclusion. We also have many other apps that we could go into today, but due to time, we won't. Cobweb also has a purchase order system, as well as a domain transfer tool that I mentioned earlier. These have both been developed in Power Apps. So the purchase order system is a blend between a model-driven and a Canvas solution. So we have some pages that are model-driven, as well as a single page which has been Canvas-driven, and then domain transfer tool being a very basic, very basic Canvas-driven applications with Power Automate linked into the back of it. So I believe we've covered off the majority of what we wanted to today. So we'll now move over to a Q&A session. So this is where we want you to be able to ask your own questions. So should you have any questions for us, please feel free to drop it into the chat. Just type out your message and drop it into the chat, and then we will answer it as we can. If we don't have the answer today, what we will do is we will refer back to it at a later date following this meeting.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Lewis. Really, really interesting, and first-hand experience of how Power Apps has helped Cobweb is really, it's been brilliant for us and saved a lot of time, effort, and money.
Really
one
does.
question I know that we've got is, if people wanted to develop further training once they have the application, what can they do?
Yeah, so further training, we'll just navigate quickly over to the Cobweb Learn slide. So we do have training offered. So Cobweb does offer training, starting with the Power Platforms Fundamentals, a great entry-level course to Microsoft certification. This covers high-level understanding of all of Power Platforms offerings. So you gain experience with Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power BI in this course. Of course, this is an entry-level course, so this will not deep dive into any of the resources covered. We then also have App in the Day. So if you are wanted to specifically drill down into app development, App in a Day, as we previously mentioned it in this webinar, is a fantastic course offered as a single day package. The In the Day courses are a fantastic way to start the Power Apps ecosystem. This course covers the basics of Power Apps in a simple to understand in a day session where you turn up, learn about Power Apps, you create multiple apps, and then you go away at the end of the day having had hands-on first-hand experience building various types of apps, covering various different business requirements. We then also have some Dynamics courses as well. So we do offer the Advanced Power Platform certifications. So we've got the Dynamics 365 Sales, so the MB 210, which is a fantastic way that you can learn the CRM system and leverage Power Apps model-driven to complete that CRM system. We then also have the Power Platform Functional Consultant, so the PL200, which is a more bespoke and more more drilled down understanding of the Power Platforms.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Lewis. Doesn't look like there's any more questions coming in through the chat, but I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Thank you, Lewis, for your presentation. Really hope to see you all at the Power BI webinar, which is the same time next week. Thanks very much.
See you next week, guys.